Hello everyone, good morning. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to understand one of the most important services called CloudWatch in AWS. But before understanding the service CloudWatch, let us first understand what is monitoring and why monitoring is important. Now let's consider a case. Imagine you have a launched website on an application on AWS, which is using an EC2 server. Everything is working fine. Suddenly, one day, users start complaining that the website has gone down, logging is not working, or the application is down. Now, the question will be, how did that happen? How will you identify the root cause of the problem, whether the CPU went high or the memory was full or the disk storage got almost finished or the network traffic was suddenly increased? This is where monitoring becomes very important. Monitoring means continuously watching your servers, your application logs and performance, so that if anything goes wrong, it lets you know beforehand and you can act on it immediately. Without monitoring, problems are usually discovered by the customer first. The customer will report you that the problem has happened and then you will act on it. This is not a good practice. With monitoring, what will happen is problems will be identified by the engineer first and they won't affect the usage of the users. That is why monitoring is important. In AWS, the service which is used for monitoring is called as CloudWatch. Very important service in AWS which is used for monitoring is called as Amazon CloudWatch AWS CloudWatch. CloudWatch helps you monitor your services resources in the real time. CloudWatch normally helps you identify the data metrics. It collects metrics and it displays the data, whether it may be CPU or whether it may be network incoming or outgoing traffic, application logs, errors or events. Let's consider an example. If there is an EC2 server and the CPU goes above 80%, CloudWatch can immediately trigger an alert. That alert can come through email or can also come through a notification of SMS on the mobile phone. That can be used. You can see on the right hand side there is notifications which I have mentioned. In notifications you can observe that there is a service called as Amazon SNS out here, right? So this is one service which can be integrated with CloudWatch to initiate alerts. This service will be working upon in the next video session. Today we'll be only focusing upon the AWS CloudWatch service. Now, as we were discussing, the CPU went high, it went above 80%. An alert will be triggered and the user can act upon it. The user can try and troubleshoot the issue. This will ensure that the CPU utilization can be brought down. The engineer can try and resolve it by identifying the root cause. So this is where monitoring actually helps. CloudWatch detects the increase in the CPU and it is going to inform the user through a service called as SNS, right? So CloudWatch in a general case, CloudWatch is a monitoring service, right? So now let's imagine if CloudWatch was not there. If AWS did not had this service called as CloudWatch, what would have happened? Monitoring would have been difficult. Monitoring would have been optional, right? We would have hosted a server, we would have hosted an application on the server, but in the backend, if any issue existed or if an issue was supposed to come, we wouldn't have been notified beforehand. That is why this service was introduced, and this is one of the most first of the services which was introduced by AWS. That is the weightage and that is the importance of this service. So another feature of CloudWatch is related to CloudWatch dashboard. It's going to display you the graph. You can see on my screen there are dashboard visualizations, that is CPU 45%, network in, error count, status check. So you can, there's no need to get the data in the form of number. You can observe the data, you can see the graphs, and from that graph also you can react. When did the CPU utilization shoot up? It shoot up at, let's say, 2 a.m. in the night. What was an activity which happened around 2 a.m., right? Because of that activity, because of that deployment, the CPU went up. due to some new deployment, the CPU went up. So all these figures, all these graphs will be displayed onto my AWS CloudWatch console, right? So let's continue. In simple words, CloudWatch is like a security guard. It's just a CCTV camera which will be available for us 7 days of the week and 24 hours in the day. That is, it is going to continuously monitor our resources onto the console. It keeps watching your cloud resources continuously. If something is going to go wrong, it will inform you instantly. That is why cloud engineer, should try and learn this service called as CloudWatch. Or a general question can be asked, how will you do monitoring? Right? So monitoring can be done by the AWS CloudWatch service. In the first place, whenever it comes to the AWS cloud service, AWS CloudWatch service, it comes it comes associated with every EC2 instance or every resource, right? And it is available by default. It comes in two types. The first AWS CloudWatch service is called as the basic monitoring, and the second service which is there of CloudWatch is called as detailed monitoring. Is called as detailed monitoring. So these are the two monitoring services which are available on AWS CloudWatch platform, right? Amongst this, basic monitoring is free and detailed monitoring does come at a price. Basic monitoring will be collecting metrics or will be collecting data at every 5 minutes. Remember this, this is very important. Basic monitoring, which is there in AWS CloudWatch, will be collecting metrics or data at every 5 minutes, every 5 minute interval. Whereas in detailed monitoring, it will be collecting data every 1 minute. So this is what is very important. This is what one should know, right? And 1 minute time frame is going to be more important. It will give you more precise data. And if an alert comes, if an issue comes, detailed monitoring is normally going to be preferred in a production environment as compared to basic monitoring, right? So let's discuss this. The graph, the image which is there on the screen, you can see there is AWS resources. AWS resource can be anything. It can be EC2, EBS, or any other resource, right? These resources are going to, AWS CloudWatch out here is going to collect metrics, that is CPU utilization or, the status checks from these resources, logs they are going to collect. And if there is a threshold which has been breached, the threshold is set, let's say CPU 80%, and that has breached. If the CPU goes above 85%, CloudWatch will initiate and trigger an alarm through notification services which are there into AWS platform. So this is how it is going to work. Today in this video, I'll only focus upon the AWS CloudWatch service, which is the monitoring service, right? Before we go ahead, what I'll do is I'll try and give you a demonstration on the console itself, which will help you understand how the CloudWatch service actually works and how are we supposed to, enable basic monitoring and, detailed monitoring, right? Let's go back to the AWS console now. I hope I have made myself clear and you have understood the purpose of the CloudWatch service, that it is used for monitoring and why monitoring is important. That is also I have explained to you in this video. Let's go back to the AWS console now. Here I am in the AWS console, right? So in the previous video, I have launched an EC2 instance, the same instance I'll be using. I had launched a Windows server. If you have not seen the previous videos, please do have a look at those videos. I have uploaded all the videos which are required to become a successful cloud engineer right from scratch in the playlist, in the sequence, right? So that will help you right from zero to, getting ahead. This videos, if you see in the series, in the sequence, that will really help you. With the time I will try and upload much more advanced videos. So this Windows server I had launched in my previous video session. So the same Windows server I'll be using. Once I connect to this Windows server, you can see I can, RDP, and I am here into my Windows server. I have downloaded some files just for the purpose. I have downloaded a VS Code setup and a Google Chrome setup onto my Windows server. What I'll do is we'll go here in monitoring to identify CloudWatch. What you will have to do is there is a tab called as monitoring here. Once you select the Windows server, the server, whichever server you have launched, you can go here in monitoring, right? Once you go in monitoring, you can see that there are some graphs, right? We will focus upon CPU utilization. That is what is more important. I'll enlarge this, and you can see here there's a graph which is being displayed, right? And this is basic monitoring, which I explained to you. The first type of monitoring, that is basic monitoring, right? Basic monitoring is there. So the graph which is there, it is coming for the data which it is collecting every 5 minutes. You can see here the first data point it took at 5:30. The second data point here it took at 5:35. The third data point it took at 5:40, around 5:40. So it is taking data points, collecting data every 5 minutes. It is taking the average every 5 minutes. And finally at 5:55, and now at 6. So it is collecting the data every 5 minutes, right? So this is basic monitoring, right? This is not that precise as compared to detailed monitoring. Now what I will do is, not what I will do is, I'll try and explain you how to enable detailed monitoring. I'll close this. You can see here there's an option called as manage detailed monitoring. I'll click here. They're asking me which instance. Yes, this is the instance ID. That is the Windows server on which we are working. I want to enable detailed monitoring. They're also telling me now that what I explained to you. It will be for 1 minute period for the instance, and it will charge me additional charges will be applying. Right. So I'm okay with this. I'll say yes and I'll confirm. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll try and see the graph. We'll try and see the graph. Now, what should happen practically is all the data points which will be coming should come after a time interval of 1 minute. But that won't happen. To switch from basic monitoring to detailed monitoring take some time. It may take 5 minutes, it may take 10 minutes, it may also take 15 minutes. All right. So what we'll do is we'll wait until the detail monitoring is directly displayed onto this graph. It's reflected onto the monitoring platform. In the timing, what I'll do is the CPU utilization you can see has come down. It's almost 2%. It's almost 2.8%. What I'll do is being enabled, we'll have to wait some time for the detail monitoring to reflect onto the monitoring platform. In the time being, what I'll do is I'll go into the same Windows server and I'll try and install multiple applications which will help me shoot up the CPU. The CPU which is there at 2%, almost at 2%, with multiple processes running on the Windows server. What should happen is the CPU should shoot up, right? So that is what we'll do. I will install VS Code. I'll say okay. I'll say next, next, next. Create a desktop icon and next, install. Fine. I think this goes good. Chrome. I'll set up Chrome also. And it's asking me, okay, it's downloading. Multiple things will be doing. I'll try to install Java as well. Install Java. Everything which a person can do on a normal laptop or a normal PC, everything can be done on the virtual machine, right? So I'll download Java for you, which will help shoot that CPU further ahead. The Java setup is also being downloaded. We'll see what is the progress of Chrome and VS Code. Okay, fine. I think Java is being installed. I'll try and install the application. Install, and this should go good. In the meanwhile, what I'll do is I'll go back to my AWS console and see if there is any spike in the CPU or if the detailed monitoring now is being enabled. No, nothing as such. We'll have to wait some time. As I have told you that, to reflect the detailed monitoring on the monitoring platform, it may take some time. It may take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes or more, right? So we'll have to wait. What I'll do is, in the meanwhile, I'll just try and pause this video until the detail monitoring is being reflected and the CPU shoots up. I'll continue once I get the data sets here. All right, guys, let's continue. I hope the detailed monitoring is now being reflected onto my monitoring console. What I'll do is I'll just tell you what did I do. I tried to, install multiple applications. You can observe I installed Python, Notepad++, VS Code, Chrome setup, as well as Java. This helped me, shoot my process, my CPU process further, uh, as well as in the meanwhile, the detailed monitoring was also being reflected onto my monitoring console. Let's go back to the AWS console. You can see I, stopped the video here at 6.5. After that, I tried to, execute multiple processes, installation, and I tried to run some application onto the system, onto my Windows server. That due to that, the CPU percentage had shoot up, right? It's almost from it was actually working at somewhere around 2%. It has gone to almost 50%, that is 45%, 47%, right? In the meanwhile, what I'll do is we also enable detail monitoring. Has detail monitoring come up? That also will try and check. I'll change the time frame from 5 minutes to 1 minute, and you can see here the previous data which was there of 5 minutes, like here 5:30, 5:35, 5:40, 5:45. There are data points here. There are some small dots. These are data points, right? So this data points were there for 5 minutes. After I initiated detailed monitoring, that is the second type of monitoring which is going to collect data for every 1 minute. I told you I started this as 5:55 here. I started this at UTC 5:55. It may take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever, right? What has happened is my detailed monitoring has begun here, has started here. You can see this is 6:14 here, right? 6:15 here, 1 minute. Now the data points which are being taken are taken at interval of 1 minute, right? Just observe here, you can see the time 6:15 UTC. Second data point 6:16 UTC. Third data point 6:17 UTC. Third data point has come down at 6:18 UTC. Right now, what I have done is I have enabled detail monitoring, and the detail monitoring is now reflected on my system. Now, these data points I'll be getting with a difference of every 1 minute. At the difference of every 1 minute, I'll be getting this data points now. So, this is how you're supposed to enable monitoring CloudWatch onto the AWS platform, onto the AWS console. So, what is monitoring? How monitoring is supposed to be done? Why monitoring plays a very important role in cloud platform, in DevOps? It's one of the key performance indexes, right? And how is monitoring going to impact for a successful production environment? That is all I have discussed in today's video, right? I'll be coming with some new videos related to CloudWatch in the coming sessions. If you have found this video helpful, if you have liked the video, please subscribe to the channel and comment which AWS service you want next, right? Thank you. We'll meet in the next coming session. Thank you, everyone.